Good morning. So, in devotional this morning, it was the topic was fellowship, and it was saying that it had 1 John 1:6. I'm sorry, in the NIV, and it says, "If we claim to have fellowship with Him, yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth." And the first sentence of that, where the actual devotional starts, says, "Our lives are consistent with our beliefs." And that just took me down a thought, several thoughts of everything in life that I complain about, maybe parts that aren't where I think they should be, and how I believe about those things. And when you do that kind of assessment, I think you will find that things that you see as annoying that are happening in your life, it's all about what you believe about those situations. If you're in a situation where you're like, "God, I'm ready to prepare myself forward in my career, but it seems like I'm stuck here." And so all you do is complain every day about it. And so I think somehow if you don't assess that and nip it in the bud, your belief becomes, this is just where I'm gonna be. This is where I'm stuck at. I'm stuck here. I'm gonna be here forever. Because when you get that mindset, or that, even if it's unconsciously, you're thinking that, hey, I might be stuck here forever. And that causes you to have that negative feeling towards your place of work, where you work at. And once that negative feeling is there, it can be hard to pull back. But if you are truly believing that God is faithful, that God is not going to leave me here, that God has more for me, then your actions and, your feeling toward the job won't be that way, because this is just a pit stop. So it's not until somehow your mind feels like, I'm going to be here forever, I hate this place, that your actions start to follow that. And you find yourself being stressed and being unhappy because you're having to get up and go to a job that you don't want to go to. So we have to really look at how we believe, how we feel about things that are going on in our lives. So when you feel yourself being sad or not being happy in your situation, definitely assess that, especially as a believer. Like, how do I believe right now? What do I believe about this situation? Not what I think I believe. Because most of the time, when you are a follower of Christ, or you believe in God, you have a relationship with God, our default setting is usually to say, "Oh, I have faith, I believe God." But do you really? Because whatever your actions do, that's your true belief. So if someone comes and tell you bad news, and your first reaction is to just become distraught, "Oh my God, what I'm gonna do?" Things, if it's not one thing, it's another. Nothing works out well for me. Faith is not your default setting. Saying those words may be, but the actual faith that you need to be, propelled forward and get the manifestation of those things that you need, the faith has to be there. The faith response is what you need to have in those situations. So our faith response must be, of course, being human, you take the time to process what you've heard. But the next reaction, the next plan of action, all that needs to be aligned with faith. And that's why it's so important to have that fellowship with God, because that doesn't happen overnight. If you hear bad news, usually we're going to react the way that people usually react to bad news. But to get that kind of faith like ingrained in you, to where your first response is, whatever the news is, God has me. Whatever the news is, it's going to work out in my favor. So we don't have to try to get there on our own. The relationship that we have with God, the time we spend in his word and knowing it, that helps us have the right response. Because what comes in, that's what's going to come up. So, I know people don't like to hear it, and some people aren't as fazed about listening to certain stuff or watching certain things. But if you know you're struggling with something, even me, it's this series I love to watch on Netflix. And I had to stop watching it because as soon as things are going good for the cast and everything, oh my God, here's another issue. Like, I think I was more stressed out than the characters on the show. I was like, can we have a couple of episodes of happiness? Maybe just a couple of little quirks, everyday things. But why does everything have to be so life altering? And so, and of course, everybody on there, because it's not like a spiritual show, they're having the reactions that people would normally have. And so I just know, hey, I got to take a break from this. I don't need to have that kind of thing just, repeating over and over in my mind as I go through that, because I know how it affects me. So everyone's affected by different things. And let's not be naive and feel as though things don't affect us, because they do. Whether it's music, whether it's what you watch, whether it's who you hang around, you may feel like you are the hardest piece of substance and nothing can break me, but it can. If you look at how your behavior changes over time when you start hanging with someone who is negative, who just sees everything from the worst point of view it could be. They try to get you to not follow the schedule and the things you have planned for your life. Oh, just come on and do this. It won't take that long. Those things are just leaving little breadcrumbs that's going to lead you away from where you're supposed to be. So all of us have a certain tolerance before things really start to affect us. And you really have to be aware of that. And so when I start feeling that from watching that show, I literally took the deepest sigh, like, can we be happy? Like, can we have a couple of episodes back to back, where we're just happy? So as light as it may seem, just definitely assess, number one, your relationship with God, the time you're spending fellowshipping with him, so you can get that arsenal built up to where when it's time to fire something back at a situation, what you're firing back is faith. What you're firing back is indicative of someone who has a relationship, a true relationship with God. And then, of course, just going through your life, when you start to feel those feelings of, hey man, tell me about this situation I'm not liking. Assess yourself. What do I truly believe about this situation? Not my default setting of just saying, oh, I have faith, everything's going to work out. But what do you truly believe about the situation? And when you see, like, dang, man, I have been kind of negative towards that. And I think the reason why I am, because I just don't know what to do. That's truth. It's truth in that. And sometimes not knowing what to do about a situation can cause you to be negative, can cause you to believe certain things about people, about situations. Look at people who have had a bad marriage the first time. Regardless of the fact that 9 times out of 10 is something, it may have been with their spouse, they just refuse to keep pushing forward, or maybe, they just weren't meant for each other from the beginning. And sometimes that person just automatically feels, well, now my belief on marriage has changed. I don't think I need to do that anymore. I don't think it's, worth it. That's your true belief. So if you are a believer and you believe that your faith can get you past anything, that God can actually heal you, then you need to say, Lord, heal me. Now, once you're healed, once you have come into true faith with that situation and what happened, and you feel that way still, and God still puts it on your heart, okay, I just want time with you, that's different. Because now you're not reacting and having your belief from what has happened. At the end of the day, life is going to life. The things that happen in this world, they're going to happen with or without you in it. So with that being the case, we just want to make sure that we're having the right reaction to things, that we have the right belief. Assess those beliefs and make sure it's actually aligned. Don't stick to that default setting. Oh, I know the Lord. I have a relationship with the Lord. But you know what? You can say that all day long. But one thing about God, his glory is going to be shown. So if you don't have no evidence of that, if you just have a bunch of things in your life going wrong and you always having to, ask for this and do that and you can't ever make it on your own. Come on now. God is going to show evidence that he is there. A relationship of him and with him is going to be evident. It's going to be shown. So, yeah, let's assess ourselves for our beliefs. Find out what we truly believe about the things that we feel like are going wrong in our lives. And then get in our word. Get in our word and see what God has to say about it and spend enough time there so our default setting isn't just to regurgitate a lot of things, but they're actually etched here. So they start to affect our emotions to where you're not sad about that happening, no? It's unfortunate, but I know what my God said about it, so I'm not worried. Have a good rest of the day.